It's time for a whole new Nintendo experience.
Is the Wii U still awesome in 2024? Look, we all know that the Wii U wasn't the success that Nintendo had hoped. In fact, it was their biggest home console flop ever. After the mighty Wii sold around 101 million units, the Wii U only sold about 13 million. But just because it didn't sell well, does that mean it's bad? Heck no. The Wii U was awesome, and there's a ton of reasons it didn't sell well. Confusion whether it was a Wii tablet accessory, the silly name, third parties jumping ship, and a slow release schedule. Yeah, they weren't great, but this isn't a video that is asking, was the Wii U awesome at the time? It was, by the way. No, this is asking if it is still awesome in 2024. The slow release schedule that happened between 2012 and 2017 doesn't matter in 2024, and lack of third-party support? Well, who honestly buys a Nintendo console for third-party games anyway? It's a long-established idea that people buy Nintendo consoles for Nintendo games, and people still play those Nintendo games years and years later. Can you still say the same for Beyond Two Souls, or Assassin's Creed Black Flag, or FIFA 14? Nope. But people are still buying enough copies of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe that it's still topping the sales charts throughout the year. And yes, that is the Switch Mario Kart, but it debuted first on Wii U. The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is arguably the greatest video game ever made, and although most people will play it on Nintendo Switch, it's a Wii U game. In 2023, the Wii U and the 3DS had their online stores shut down. And so I spent as much money as I could afford in those final days strategically getting games that I didn't think I'd be able to get elsewhere, just so I could still experience as much of the Wii U library as possible for the future. Compared to when the Wii U was Nintendo's main console, we now have lost the online shops and the online play, so in this regard, the Wii U is lesser than it was at the time. But truthfully, whilst I did like to get the odd download title or wait for the Wii U Virtual Console to emerge, or have the occasional game of Mario Kart 8 online, mostly I just played single player games or couch co-op if I was going to play with someone else. In this sense, the Wii U is now just as playable as it ever was. Unless, of course, you really got into Miiverse. Nintendo have now embraced the fact that they're better off served with just letting people use their social media on the likes of YouTube, Facebook, and X, rather than trying to protect us all with their own dedicated social interaction methods like Miiverse and Street Pass on the 3DS. Those were neat ideas that are sadly lost with the Wii U and the 3DS, but those were too much in their own bubble and disconnected from the rest of social media. By always trying to think of safety, Nintendo perhaps didn't lean enough into the social side of gaming to their own detriment. So whilst it's a shame that Miiverse and Street Pass are gone, the likes of capture cards and streaming and other social media more than allows current Wii U owners to continue the social connection with other members of the Wii U community. For those that enjoyed the online play though, this is now sadly lost. Unless, of course, people find community-built solutions to continue to play Wii U games online. But heck, that wasn't me, and that's not what I want from a retro console anyway. It's weird to say that the Wii U is now a retro console, but with the Switch having been out for over 7 years at the time of making this video, the Wii U is now far enough in the past that it's like talking about the NES when you were playing Nintendo 64. So what is the Wii U still good for in 2024? I mean, you can still play all of the boxed Wii U games, although of course any features that do require online are now no longer accessible. But heck, I remember some online PS4 games not being playable on the PS4 when the PS4 was still the main PlayStation. The Wii U also lets you get any of your boxed Wii games, as the Wii U is pretty much back compatible with all of the Wii games and accessories. If you have any of the Virtual Console or download games on your Wii U system, these will still be playable, and I think I'm correct in saying that you can still re-download any that you have previously purchased. In terms of exclusive games that you can't play elsewhere, well, the Wii U is perhaps a bit more redundant than other past Nintendo consoles, as a lot of the biggest games have since made their way onto Nintendo Switch. And yes, it's true that you don't need a NES to play the original Legend of Zelda, as the game was been released again on the Game Boy Advance, the Wii, the 3DS, the Wii U, and the Switch. But in that instance, Zelda was a retro re-release. For many of the Wii U's biggest titles like Super Mario 3D World and Mario Kart 8, those games were brought straight over to the Switch as full-priced releases and treated as just as important a new game as any brand new title developed exclusively for the Nintendo Switch. It's games that have remained exclusive on Nintendo Wii U, and I kind of use that term with a caveat, are The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker HD and The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess HD. The caveat here being that these games had previously been on the GameCube, and the latter also as a launch title on the Nintendo Wii, meaning for Twilight Princess at least, it was released on 3 consecutive Nintendo home consoles. So, hardly an exclusive then. But obviously these were exclusive in terms of the HD versions, and despite them both being huge releases on the Wii U, neither have since launched on the Nintendo Switch. The original Splatoon game has stayed a Wii U exclusive, although, and I'm not the biggest Splatoon player, it's my understanding that maybe stages from the original game have found their way onto Switch releases of Splatoon 2 and Splatoon 3. But the single player campaign certainly is still playable on the Wii U game, but as the game was so heavily focused on online matches, that is currently inaccessible. One of the big early games on Switch was Xenoblade Chronicles 2. And since then, we've also got a remake of the original game that was on the Switch and also on the 3DS. But for some reason, the new entry that released for the Wii U, Xenoblade Chronicles X, has remained a Wii U exclusive. Now, I am aware that with all of the games I mention about being Wii U exclusive and not on Switch, that they may later release on the Nintendo Switch after I have made this video. But I'll just know that now that what I'm saying is correct 7 years into the Switch's lifespan. Star Fox Zero was not as good a game as it should have been, and that's perhaps why it's not had a re-release on the Switch. But if there is one game that should see a re-release on Switch, it is perhaps Star Fox Zero, just so that they can fix it. It should be Star Fix Zero. See what I did there? One of the issues with the Wii U was the idea of two-screen gaming, and look, it doesn't work as well in practice as it does in theory or on paper. And this is because unlike the dual screens of the Nintendo DS, where the two screens are so close together they may as well be a single screen, the Wii U having a screen in your hands and another on your TV mean you couldn't ever see both properly at the same time. Star Fox Zero was an attempt to justify the two screens with two different camera views, but why not just have you flip between them with a button press? I would even say that Nintendo made the game harder to play with the view on your TV and be better with the cockpit view on the gamepad, just to artificially try to make it so that the gamepad seemed justified. The game that perhaps best used the gamepad is still an exclusive on the Wii U. in a sense, and that is Super Mario Maker. Yes, there is Super Mario Maker 2 on Switch, but this is effectively just an expanded version of the same software. Still, the touchscreen and stylus on the Wii U will forever be the best way to play Super Mario Maker compared to doing it on Switch. Just being able to design in your hands and instantly then play on the TV was the best way to do it, compared to using a touchscreen with your finger and then needing to dock to be able to get the game up on your TV. Look, it's definitely better as a Wii U game, and even though they can make a version where you use cursors on the screen, or you use your finger and then have to dock to play it, the Wii U just rules in this instance. Then there is NES Remix, Art Academy games on the Wii U, Paper Mario Color Splash, Kirby and the Rainbow Curse, Game & Wario and Nintendo Land. That are all other games which are on Wii U and not on Nintendo Switch. Believe it or not, the game I played most that I have on the Wii U was the download Art Academy Sketchbook game, which I guess isn't really a game, but it's the art software Art Academy Sketchbook, which wasn't as fully featured as the eventual boxed release of Art Academy Attila, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. This is something that cannot be replicated on the Switch properly, although there is a third-party art game where you get a special stylus with it. But for me, this is the best example of what the Wii U could offer that wasn't available on other consoles. Yoshi's Woolly World did come to the 3DS, but not onto the Switch as yet, and it's strange to me that Nintendo haven't capitalized on the well-received NES Remix games on Switch and never even followed them up with a SNES Remix or N64 Remix. Along with Mario Kart 8, the biggest Wii U game was probably Super Smash Bros. For Wii U, which is still a terrible name, but done to highlight that it also launched alongside Super Smash Bros. For Nintendo 3DS. And this was the game where the Amiibo craze first launched. But of course, these days, the Nintendo Switch got Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, which I think is fair to say is just an expanded upon release of Super Smash Bros. For Wii U, rather than it being an absolutely completely new entry. It still feels like the Wii U game, but and this is kind of the case with things often that came out on the Wii U, it feels like the expanded version of what the Wii U game should have been. Now, I know some of you will explain in the comments how it is a completely new game, but you know what I mean. It's a game that they put out on the Wii U, but then kind of perfected the formula on Switch. The Wii U apparently had 792 games in total, with 202 only coming out in physical boxed releases. Now, when you consider that the Wii U was the main Nintendo console across the years of 2012 to 2017, that means the console was active in 6 separate years. But of course, it only came out about November or December 2012, and the Switch came out and replaced it in March 2017. So that means there were only 4 complete years. This means, on average, the Wii U had just under 50 games released in the shops each year. Almost one a week doesn't sound bad, but when you consider there were about 5 or 6 Just Dance games, suddenly those one a week doesn't feel quite so good. Now, a lot of these would have been released bunched up together around Christmas or in midsummer, meaning that there were long gaps with few games. This is where the Virtual Console and download games were so important to the Wii U. But again, unless you already have them on your Wii U now, or can get them there by another means, the 202 box games will be all you can ever play again. And look, when I say 202 games released physically, that's worldwide. I'm in the UK, and apparently there were only 161 PAL released box games, and that is so few. Of the games, around 38 of them released between the Wii U's launch on November 18th, 2012 and the end of 2012. But once again, I'll say that I'm asking if the Wii U is still awesome in 2024, and coming to it now, we have access to any and all of the games for the platform that you can get your hands on. Amazon still even have some stock of the odd game here and there. In terms of Nintendo games, there was more than enough to keep most Nintendo fans happy for a lot of playtime. Between the new games and the Virtual Console, you could play Super Mario Bros. 1, 2 and 3, Super Mario World, Mario 64, the Mario Advance games, Super Mario Galaxy 1 and 2, both as downloads or using your original Wii discs, New Super Mario Bros., New Super Mario Bros. Wii, and of course Super Mario 3D World and New Super Mario Bros. U. This means you can play all the mainline Mario games excluding the GameCube Super Mario Sunshine, and even all these years later after the Switch is launched, only Super Mario Odyssey and Super Mario Wonder are games that are not available to Wii U players. Suddenly, the Wii U still feels like close to the ultimate Mario system. Now, I won't list all of the games with every franchise, but it's much the same situation with the Zelda franchise, and actually it's a slightly sweeter deal, with Wind Waker HD and Twilight Princess HD not yet on Switch, and the Wii U also having Virtual Console access to both Game Boy Advance and Nintendo DS, as well as Breath of the Wild. It means currently there are still more Zelda games playable on Wii U than on Switch. And despite any improvements that exist in Tears of the Kingdom over Breath of the Wild, it is a little bit of a bitter pill for Wii U owners to know that essentially Tears of the Kingdom that released in 2023 probably could have released on Wii U from a compatibility standpoint. The Wii U is a console that has a similar legacy to the Dreamcast. They're both consoles that sold in the 10 million unit range, and they're both viewed as consoles that have a high number of all-time classics despite failing to sell in large quantities. The differences between the two are several, admittedly, but whilst the Dreamcast sold just under 10 million units worldwide from its Japanese launch in 1998 to being discontinued in 2001, the Wii U took from its launch in 2012 until it was discontinued in 2017 to sell just over 13 million. Nintendo's effort is arguably more of a flop than the Dreamcast in this regards, but whilst Sega had to bow out of the console race, and that was the end of Sega's story as a console developer, Nintendo had the resources to go the distance with the Wii U, even though it became ever more clear that it wasn't a success. Then, with the launch of the Switch being a runaway success, and many of the biggest Wii U games migrating over to Switch, the Wii U perhaps hasn't built up the same mystique as the Dreamcast did. The mistakes of the Wii U that led to it failing are many, and that will be an in-depth discussion I'll save for another day. The bullet points are that it launched fairly expensive, didn't continue the casual focus of the Wii, but didn't have the power or developer support to capture the hardcore gaming market, and that Nintendo failed to get enough big hitters out quick enough due to their issues transitioning to HD game development. But now we're at the stage where what was is what was. The Wii U is now a fixed event in history, and even if its library of games have found their way elsewhere, the question is whether the Wii U is still awesome. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you can get new Super Mario Bros. U on Switch or any of the other games. The fact is, if you can get it on the Wii U, does the Wii U have a good enough library to still make it a great console to play these days? The Wii U is the only console that comes with a controller that is as unique as the Wii U gamepad. The era of the DS and 3DS are also gone, and whilst touchscreen devices are everywhere, ones where you could play with a stylus are in the past. If you want to experience two-screen gaming on a home console, the Wii U is kind of where it ended, and it's the only option you really have to go back to. Super Mario Maker and Art Academy allowed for players to be creative on a console and it can't really be replicated as well in the same way on the current gen of systems. There are probably still more games on the Wii U that make use of Amiibos than on Switch, although this is just my assumption based on how much Amiibo was pushed during the Wii U years, and how much it has trailed off and been reduced in focus during the years of the Nintendo Switch. So even though they still occasionally push out Amiibos, it truly was a thing of the Wii U era. If you had a Wii U today with the full library of games, you'd have the likes of The Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, and a bunch more from that series, Super Mario Bros. U and 3D World, Mario Kart 8, Super Smash Bros. For Wii U, Pikmin 3, Project Zero, Bayonetta 1 and 2, Donkey Kong Country, Tropical Freeze, Wii Sports Club, Yoshi's Woolly World, Sonic Lost World, Rayman Legends, Super Mario Maker, Art Academy, Xenoblade Chronicles X, Wii Fit U, Resident Evil Revelations, Hyrule Warriors, Kirby and the Rainbow Paintbrush, New Super Luigi U, and more. There were also a couple of Call of Duty games, a few Assassin's Creed games, a few Skylanders, a bunch of Just Dance games, as well as Epic Mickey 2, Minecraft, and the likes of Darksiders and Devil's Third. Add all of this to the download games like Dr. Luigi U, Mario and Donkey Kong, all the virtual console games that release from platforms including the NES, SNES, N64, Wii, Game Boy Advance, Nintendo DS, and TurboGrafx. And that you can also play all of the Wii games, and if you migrated your Wii download games, you'd have anything from WiiWare and the expanded Virtual Console library that included the Sega Mega Drive, Commodore 64, Sega Master System, Arcade, and Neo Geo. And that's an awful lot of games. You can still visit the Wii U eShop, where you'll find it is a deserted ghost house, filled with pages and images from the games that once were residents on the system, but when you try to download any of the games, you'll see that the residents have moved on and are no longer available. If you have a Wii U that has these download-only games on there, you potentially have one of the best systems imaginable for the huge amount of generations worth of classic games. Even if you are new to Wii U and you can only build up a collection of physical games, getting everything that is playable from both the Wii and the Wii U libraries are more than enough good games that you could certainly play in a lifetime. So yeah, I can safely say that the Wii U may not have had the easiest ride whilst it was a thing, but in 2024, the Wii U is still awesome. So that's going to wrap things up for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm definitely going to have another Wii U retrospective coming up sooner rather than later, so if you haven't done so already, please do me a favour and smash the subscribe button here on the Geek Battle Gaming YouTube channel. Also do head over to www.xstreamed.tv/gaming, where there are written article versions of all of the videos on this channel, plus so much more. So until next time, stay safe, always stay extremed, and ciao for now. Boom, and we're off the air.